Thank you all for being here. It's amazing that you are all here. We have today 10,000 people coming over and 95 nationalities. I'm here. I'm really excited to do this interview with a guy that I've known for some time now, and you can't miss him if you are in the Netherlands. You might not know him personally, but you know his company. I'm really psyched that he's here. I have a lot of respect for what he built. There are not many European entrepreneurs that don't sell out their company when it's going well. This guy made a company from $50 into a food empire. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to the best dressed man in town, Jitse Groen. I look better from this side, actually. Jitse, as I said, you're always well dressed, best dressed man in town. Again today, a very nice suit. Yes. Where did you buy it?
I think, usually in Italy.
In Italy. Did you buy it online?
No.
No.
You cannot buy suits online.
Suit Supply is trying to. Yeah. Let's go to 2000, the year 2000. What happened in the year 2000 with you, and how did you came up with the idea?
I was studying in the east of the country in a place called Enschede on the German border, and I was enjoying my life. I was studying a little bit, but also was rowing, and I was having fun, and just being a student, basically not working at all, right? That's what I was doing.
I know it.
And at the same time, I had also the habits that most students have, is ordering pizzas and other type of takeaway food. So I did that, but at that point in time, people were using the phone, and obviously. When I was at a family party, we also wanted to order something, and we were ordering Chinese food. And I'm from a small village, so in a small village, you can't order Chinese food. It doesn't really exist. I don't think you can do that now, actually. But at that point in time, we wanted Chinese food, and that in the end resulted in me going online and checking whether that was possible on the internet. And we're talking about a very different time in which people had to switch on their computers. They had to dial in. They had to wait for 50 minutes, and after 50 minutes, you knew for sure you could not order food online, and certainly not in a small village. And that was actually when I came up with the idea of my company, Takeaway.com, or Thuisbezorgd in Holland. And simply because, it did not exist, and I knew I had to create that company because it ended up in me going to another town, 10 kilometers, by car, to pick up Chinese food. So obviously that was not the most practical way.
So that was the start of Thuisbezorgd.nl. It's a well-known brand here, Takeaway.com as well. And I want to ask the audience as well a little bit to do a little bit of research here. If everybody who ever ordered food online can stand up. Did you ever order food online?
Sorry.
That's good. Okay, so I still see 2 or 3 people sitting down. Shame on you. Anyway.
I should note that this is way above average. That might have something to do with your little event here. But on average, most people still use the phone. So this is already quite good. Okay,
but please keep on standing, by the way, because there are more questions. So if the answer is no to my question, you can sit down. Okay. You have a couple of brands, Thuisbezorgd.nl, Takeaway.com, Pizza.be, Pizza.fr, Pizza.lu, Laive Service, Lieferando, and Vietnam.
You missed the Polish one, very important.
Pisne.
Sounds really disgusting in Dutch, and in English, but it means tasty. So.
Okay, tasty. Okay, so if you ever ordered on one of these services, you can stay where you are. If you have never ordered through one of these services, sit down, please. Okay, so this is
that's a good European crowd here.
That's a good European crowd. If you ever ordered in the last 3 months, please stand up or keep on standing. 3 times in the last 3 months. Yeah. 5 times. Okay, some people clearly don't have a kitchen here. Anybody over 10 times? Yeah, there's still a hardcore group over there. Okay, that's really cool.
I have the feeling I should have brought vouchers with me, but
well, you would go bankrupt.
not with these guys.
Oh, okay.
That would still be all right.
Okay. But to give you an example, so I'm also still standing, and you're also still standing. So my girlfriend, she loves your service, and I made some screenshots of her order history, and I asked her, like, hey, can you give me your order history on Thuisbezorgd? She's like, no. I'm like, why not? Because then people think of me that I will never cook. I'm normally the cook, but if I'm not there, which is quite often, so 3 times a week she orders through your service, which is not an average.
No,
right?
look, I'm on a once a month average, so yeah.
And what is an average customer for you?
Look, we are a mass medium, right? I mean, we have a lot of people. We have, in Europe, we have 7 million customers that order at least once a year. And most people only order a couple of times. It's similar to going to the McDonald's. You don't do it every day. We don't need you to do that every day, but we do need you to order a couple of times a year.
Yeah, sure. So, you've been in the business quite long. Was it always, as of that moment in 2000, and you opened up the website and was smooth sailing, or?
It depends on how you look at it, right? I'm an entrepreneur, so I don't really think in defeat, because you're basically thinking in defeat. Oh, things are going to go wrong, etc. And we're problem solvers in our company. We solve our issues, and when we have solved the issues, we continue until we hit the next problem. And usually that's in the same day, but we don't think in issues. And
in the very beginning, you had to get restaurants on your site. Was that easy?
Patrick, I had to beg the first 700 restaurants to be on our website. I had to go door to door. And I was living in the east of Holland. Now, Holland's not a very big country, but if you are in the east of Holland, it's very annoying because all the restaurants are in the west. So I actually had to go there.
And beg them, please come on my website, and nobody knew it, and I'm going to send you traffic or orders.
Well, that was the issue. We did not have traffic.
Oh.
Right, so
how did you solve that?
Well, we asked them to put our domain on their leaflets initially, and they did, but they made a lot of typos. And it was, we're talking about the time before Google, right? So there was also no way to correct the typos. So, but in the end, that worked for us.
So you bought, like, next to Thuisbezorgd, you bought Thuisbezorgd and with a T and with a D.
Actually, the Dutch brand is not, because you can roughly translate that as home delivered. It's not even home delivery. It's a really actually bad name. Yeah. Bad name, but home delivery was already gone, so we could not take that one. So we took the bad name and we stuck to the bad name. And even though we now own the good name, but we stuck to it. Yeah. And
you never took funding up until 2012, if I'm correct. Yeah. So how do you grow a business just without funding?
Well, first of all, when you start a business, I think it's always good to start a business that can actually make money. I mean, there's a lot of businesses that don't make money, and of course there are these amazing examples like, I don't know, Twitter. Twitter's a good example. Yeah. Not making money, it is getting a lot of funding. But in the end, of course, people, and you see that also now with Twitter, people want their money back. Right, so if you get a VC on board, I mean, it sounds fantastic. I've raised 200 million, I raised 100 million. What people don't tell is that, I've raised 100 million. Unfortunately, I have a liquidation preference in there, so my investor wants 400 million back. So if you get an investment for 10% of your company for 100 million, people think you're worth $1 billion, but in practice you're not, because this investor will just take half of your company in the end.
Yeah. So how much would you been worth if you take 100 million with a preference of 400 million? Then you're worth?
Well, this is also an interesting question. I'm not about value. I mean, if in the end we get a new investment on board, then the investor is going to pay what he wants to pay for the company. But I cannot change that. I can only grow the company. I can only say, well, we now want to be the biggest in Germany, and we become the biggest in Germany. That's what I do.
Yeah, okay.
If you then want to value it, that's your
so
your
in
business.
2012, you raised funding. Why was that the moment you wanted to raise money?
We saw the landscape changing. Basically, in 2012, we were a Dutch website with some hobbies abroad. And with hobbies, I mean Belgium. So in Belgium, we were actually already, because in Holland, we beat Just Eat. We're many times larger than Just Eat, which is the largest food delivery website in the world. And in Belgium, we did not, at that point, were a lot bigger than Just Eat. But we knew that we were going to be bigger because we have a very predictable business model. So we can just say, okay, well, we're not bigger now, but next year we'll be a lot bigger than they are, because we can just see, plot the growth. But then, we saw the landscape changing. We saw a lot of investment in this sector. And then I basically thought, well, this is all fine and well. And we were at the time pretty big because Dutch people eat a lot of takeaway food, trust me. But I feared that we would get competition from abroad, and in the end we got competition from abroad, that would take our market in Holland as well. And obviously that doesn't sound very pleasant to me. So what we did is actually we shifted. We could have just built a dam surrounding Holland and Belgium, which is something that a lot of very successful Dutch companies do, right? I mean, they stay in Holland and Belgium, and they make it very difficult for other companies to enter these two countries. Big example is Amazon. We don't have Amazon here. Why don't we have it? Because there's two strong Dutch brands taking that market from Amazon.
Bol.com.
Yeah, exactly. So they have that market, and that's a good strategy. But, I was a young guy. I said, well, maybe we can become the largest in Austria. Maybe we can become the largest in Germany. So this is why I said, okay, let's raise some money, and I raised some money.
And what did you do with the money?
We spent it.
Yeah, very good. I like that.
It's gone now, Patrick.
Yeah, it's all gone. Shit. So raised money in 2012, then in 2014 again, and then you raised a significant amount, like 74, 73
2014 was 74 million.
Yeah.
With that money, we acquired Lieferando in Germany.
Was that also for 74 million? Or?
It was a little bit less. Yeah. And what most people don't get from our company is we're very profitable in Holland, and we use those profits to expand in other countries. So we don't typically need to raise a lot of money because we have a lot of money.
Well, but you don't have like 70 million in the bank.
No, but we don't need. This sounds really bad.
Oh yeah.
No, but we don't need that money, right? We are profitable in our most important market, and we can spend that money in other countries. So when you see us raise money, typically we will do that to grow faster.
And okay, so you have a company. The Dutch eat a lot of food, order a lot of food online. Then you go to Germany. The market is huge, bigger, and then there's a Dutch, well-dressed guy coming over and says like, "I'm going to buy this shit."
Listen.
How did that work, and how do people react?
No, but that sounds very easy. In the end, we did that deal in 2 weeks. Also, the raising of capital, so we did that very fast. But we knew those guys for 2 years already. Yeah. So we had been chasing those guys. That was the number 3 in Germany at the time. We, with all the money that we invested, were number 4. And we have a very clear strategy. We want to be the number 1 everywhere we are. So if we are not, or if we are not even close, we need to do something. Well, you could close the business. But we spent a lot of money in Germany. We didn't really like closing that business. Or you could acquire a business. So we acquired a business, but what we typically do is we don't acquire a business because we think, hey, this business has, 200,000 orders. No, we acquired a business because we say, hey, this business has 200,000 orders, and we think we can get to the million. And this is what we do. So we acquired it. We changed a couple of things. We worked with the people already there. We expanded the business. We started investing heavily. If you now go to Germany, you see an advertisement of our brand Lieferando, you see it everywhere. If you watch TV, you see it everywhere. If you watch a football game, you see it everywhere. And this is how we create our brand awareness in Germany. And this is also how we expand that business. However, although we feel that we are the largest food delivery website in Germany, the German website is still smaller than the Dutch one. And this too, we're from a small country. This to us is very interesting. We're like, oh yeah, well, if we can get to be this large in Holland, this country is 5 times larger. Why can't we be 5 times larger in Germany? So,
yeah, so there's room for growth, but it's also cultural change needed.
No, this is a big misconception. We don't do cultural change. If you ask Dutch people to not eat a cheese sandwich in the afternoon, you can forget about it. They're not going to eat a hot meal in the afternoon. Dutch people don't do that. Trust us if you're not from Holland. So that we cannot change. So what can we do? We grow really fast because people use the phone. And they should stop using the phone. They should, use our website.
Yeah,
this is why we grow fast.
They should use the phone but not calling.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, and so with hindsight, you spent around 50, 60 million on a company in Germany. You bought the number 3. How long did it take you to get to number 1? And how in hell is that possible? Because number 1 and 2, what were they doing then?
Well, we were number 4, we bought number 3, we became the number 2 because we merged those 2 brands. We got rid of our own brand, and that's a difficult thing to do, right? Because it's very emotional inside your own company. Because if you go to the office that was running Lieveservice.de, which is a great name, by the way, for a German business, but we said, oh, guys, we're smaller than a Lieferando, we need to change the name into Lieferando. Of course, the logo looks the same everywhere, and everything is the same everywhere, but that was an emotional decision. But we took the decision, we started changing that business, and we were number 2. That's already a lot better than number 4. And we knew that with the money that we had from the Dutch business, we knew that our marketing budget in Germany was going to be very, very large when we did that. And we started investing the money, and we overtook the number 1. And of course, the number 2 and the number 3 in Germany are now Rocket Internet daughters. So we're kind of proud of it. I mean, Rocket is a large company. Yeah. We feel that we are the better operator, that we are the better company. So this is also part of why we win that struggle in Germany. But this is what we do.
Cool. And how data-driven is your business?
Less data-driven than it should be. To be honest, we could be a lot better in working with the data. We know a lot about our business. If we get a new customer, we're getting hundreds of thousands of new customers every single month. So a lot of people. We know how often they are going to order in a specific year. So we know that it's very predictable. However, we're not harassing those customers with, hey, you didn't order in the last 2 weeks. And it's, of course, from a consumer perspective, it's not very nice being harassed, but from a business perspective, that's what you should do.
Well, if you harass them in a nice way, you could get more out of it.
Exactly, yeah.
And so is it, you have your customer acquisition cost, you know how much you want to spend on a user, and how long does it take to earn that user back?
It's very different between the countries, right? I mean, one of the misconceptions is that, you have a success in Holland and you go to Germany, it's easy. It's not easy, it's horrible. I mean, we've spent 100 times more money in Germany than I thought that we would ever be able to spend in Germany. And, we've just begun in Germany, so we know we're going to spend more money in there. So it's very difficult to go to other countries and to actually build something there.
Is this, you're mentioning we want to be the number 1, that's the strategy, that's easier said than done, of course, but...
no, but it helps. It's very clear.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, if you go around in your company and say, oh, we like to be number 3, that's horrible. Yeah. You're never going to be number 3. You probably end up not being number 4. If you want to be number 1, either that works and you become the number 1, or at least you become number 2. So it's a better strategy, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's very clear and helpful also for the employees, I guess. The last few years, I mean, the food tech industry seems to be the hottest VC ticket in town. Like you see, like Deliveroo, Foodora, Ellen.me, which is a Chinese site that raised 1.2 billion.
1.6, I believe, but
yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah, you know that better.
Who's counting?
They're raising a Delivery Hero in Germany, of course, Foodpanda. They've raised hundreds of millions. What is your take on that? What you raised almost 100 million, which is a shitload of money, but they are raising like 5 times as much.
Well, let's say I'm glad that I'm not running those companies, because you have to pay it back. I mean, it's very simple. If you cannot live up to your promise, and you have to bear in mind that the promise also changes, right? I mean, you can get a nice valuation today, but we already see it now happening in our business, that valuations are going down, they're not going up. So we had that, because of the low interest rate, we had that influx of money going into the business until the beginning of this year, and you see a lot of down rounds now in the internet sector. So obviously, if you have money, you should not worry about anything, but if you don't have money, you have to raise again, you're going to have to raise at a lower valuation, and that's of course very painful to your company, and it's very painful to your shareholders. You would have to fire a lot of people. You would have to close down countries if that happens. And we see that happening all over the place. So,
but not at your company.
No, we didn't raise as much money as the other guys, fortunately.
Okay. And in terms of the business model, your business model is pretty straightforward, I guess. You replaced the phone with online technology, and you take a cut from each and every order. But you don't do the delivery yourself online.
Well, we typically didn't do that ourselves. Now we actually do deliver in 8 German cities. We deliver for McDonald's in Vienna. We deliver for a couple of restaurants here in Amsterdam and The Hague as well. We're opening soon in Rotterdam and Utrecht as well. So we do deliver in about 13 cities now throughout Europe.
So and that's kind of like the business model that, for instance...
it's very similar to Deliveroo, Foodora. It's a very difficult business model. We see it. We see the difference with our business model. It's much more complicated. We just have to put a lot of people on mopeds. Well, these are people, right? They tend not to want to show up for their work and stuff. So it's very annoying compared to computers and messages that if you send a message, it typically arrives to the restaurant, then you don't have to do anything anymore. So that's a lot easier. But we are in that business now, yeah.
So where do you see the future of online ordering food going?
We don't know how large it's going to be. We know it's going to be much larger than it is today. Also because the habits of people are changing. We do see that a lot of people order more frequently, and we have to also expand our offering. So we have more healthy food now. We have more exclusive food now. People want to even order their Starbucks. We have a lot of hip people here, so maybe they're doing it already, but Starbucks coffee, and then you have a guy, because you're too lazy to walk 100 meters, right? So you have a guy coming with your coffee. People do it. So we do see a lot of cultural change now, but it's not a shift of behavior. It's just expansion of their behavior. If you're already ordering pizza or sushi or whatever, you're also going to order different things.
Okay. I have one last question. What is the biggest challenge you are working on within the company?
I think that our biggest challenge is to remain relevant, because we do see that now there's an interesting time because we're adding ever more customers to our apps. So we see a shift to the apps, which is great for us, but it's very bad for companies like Google, and also to a lesser extent for Apple, because we pay Google a lot of money every month. We're talking about millions of tens of millions actually per year that we're paying Google. Now that's becoming less because people stay on their app. They're not going to search on Google, oh, what was this company again? So Google has to make a move on that. So they need to change that model also. And I expect that in a couple of years, you'll be saying to your phone, hey, I want a pizza. Then where are we in that, in that whole thing? Well, we'll still be supplying the service, but we won't have an app. So I think things are going to move in that direction. So we need to remain relevant, and we need to also provide technology so that we can actually be the guys getting the pizza in. Okay. But I think it's an opportunity, right? You're always, sure. It's not a threat.
We're 1 minute 47 over time, but sure. I do have a last question, because you stayed at the company since 2000, so 16 years at the company. We don't see that too often nowadays. What makes you go to the office every day and think like, I'm going to make the best out of it?
Well, that's interesting. It's an interesting question. I cannot really answer it, to be honest. The only thing I can say is that I like my work. My work changed a lot. We grow very fast. We grew over 50% last year, so we grow very fast as a company. And it's just a lot of fun. We're a very young company. Average age is 30 years. We are a very international company. Most of our staff is German. I think the second group is Polish people, and actually working on a Polish product as well. So it's a very fun environment, and I think it's very, if people think back about this time later on, and all you guys are in the tech sector, you will later on think, oh yeah, I was there when the entire old economy collapsed. And that's very bad for that old economy, but it's great if you are in that revolution, if you can actually change a couple of things in there, and you can say, hey, I was there. And I think that only in hindsight we will understand how important this time in actually the history of the internet, but also in the history of mankind is.
Cool. You guys have a restaurant here as well. You don't have to stand in line for any food trucks. There's a restaurant, the takeaway restaurant in the exhibitor hall here on the top floor. So if you want to have dinner with Jitse, for instance, You can go there, order through the app, and the food will be delivered from one of the food trucks here to your table. So make sure to get that experience as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.